Welcome back to the Dark Reading News Desk at Black Hat. Terry Sweeney here, contributing editor with Dark Reading, and joining us now on the dais is Theresa Lanowitz, chief evangelist with LevelBlue. Teresa, welcome back to the Dark Reading News Desk.
Thank you so much, Terry. It's great to be here with you.
Well, we always appreciate and your original research that you discuss with us with each of these events. Thank you so much. For those listeners who are new to the news desk, talk a bit about what LevelBlue is and how that came to be.
LevelBlue is a joint venture between AT&T and WillGem Ventures. And our whole goal is to act as a strategic extension of your team. And we do that in three primary ways. First, we help you to protect your business intelligence with our cybersecurity consulting. Second, we help you to predict your cybersecurity investments with our managed security services. And thirdly, we help you to foster innovation and mitigate risk through our LevelBlue Labs threat intelligence research. And what we stand for is cybersecurity simplified.
Well, you're no stranger to News Desk. You always show up with original research that really brings it, so thank you for that. You've dived in around cyber resilience and healthcare in this particular occasion. Talk to us a bit about the findings there and maybe some of the surprises or some of the big takeaways from the data.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things we do every year is we launch our big thought leadership research, the LevelBlue Futures Report. We launched our core LevelBlue Futures Report back in May at the RSA timeframe, and what that is it's a worldwide survey, 18 different countries, 1,050 different survey respondents in 7 different industries. And then what we do over the course of the year is we launch industry specific, so healthcare, retail, finance, manufacturing, energy and utilities, US SLED, transportation. We just launched our healthcare research, and we just launched yesterday also the LevelBlue C-Suite Accelerator as well. So the C-Suite Accelerator takes a look at how the CIO, the CTO, and the CISO actually come together and coalesce around this whole idea of cyber resilience.
All right. Help us understand the significance of the research and how a CIO, a CTO, and a CISO might view these findings differently.
So a CIO, a CTO, and a CISO, you think that they all have those C titles, they're all working in the technology. How different, right? They are actually extremely different. So if you think about the the CIO is in the business of technology, making sure they're taking a look at the entire IT estate and how it's going to actually run that business, regardless of what that business is. The CTO is about innovation, that developmental innovation that can deliver better business outcomes through innovation. And the CISO is about that the operational security of what's going on inside the organization. And then you take a look at this thing that we've been hearing a lot about, this concept of cyber resilience. And cyber resilience says, what happens when your entire IT estate experiences something catastrophic or near catastrophic? It could be man-made, it could be a natural event, a hurricane, a flood, a fire, an earthquake, or it could be some type of cyber event. How do those teams come together, and how do they work to actually cope and resolve with that issue that you may have had to deliver that resilience?
Well, these catastrophic incidents, which we seem to be experiencing with greater frequency, really break down the walls between the CXOs. Like those job functions suddenly start to bleed into each other, right?
Yes. Yeah, most deadly. Well, bleed into each other, but requiring a lot of communication. And that's one of the things that we saw in our research. So CISOs, for example, oftentimes do not necessarily report into the CEO of an organization. So in order to have this good experience, in order to be able to be resilient and be cyber resilient, the CISO has to have that full seat at the proverbial table. And the way they look at budgets, the way they look at risk, the way they look at compliance, completely different across the board. And types of things that they can do to help the organization be more resilient, completely different across the board as well.
This term cyber resilience is very much in the ether right now. Before we go too much farther, give us your definition of cyber resilience.
So cyber resilience, and the way we've defined it in our research and the way we define it for this conversation that we're having. So this idea of cyber resilience is your entire IT estate. It's big, it's complex, it's unwieldy. So what happens? How does your business, how does your organization cope with your entire IT estate being offline. What are you doing to get yourself back up and running as quickly as possible? But what are you doing in the intervening time? Can you load airplanes? Can you schedule ambulances? Can you check people into a hotel? So what are you doing when that entire IT estate is offline?
All right. Why is cyber resilience, to use your term, a whole organization issue? Talk about what that means to you.
Whole organization issue, because we have this whole idea of more dynamic computing that's taking place beyond the four walls of the organization. So think about healthcare, wearables for remote patient monitoring, manufacturing, visual quality inspection on the assembly lines to watch when a defect might be being inserted during assembly process, manufacturing using robots, autonomous drones, autonomous vehicles, that sort of thing. So we have all of this innovation going on. And we also have a lot of regulation and compliance issues that organizations have to deal with. So the CTO looks at compliance and says, that's friction. That creates friction for what I need to do, which is innovate. The CISO looks at that and says, I have to figure out how to make sure that from an operational perspective, security is going to be built in to be able to comply with what we're dealing with. And the CIO is looking at that saying, yes, we have to make sure this is functioning and running for the technology that we're dealing with. So the CIO, the CTO, the CISO, they might have conflicting priorities, ultimately the same goals, but those conflicting priorities.
How can executive leadership get better or smarter or just improve cybersecurity as a process, as a function, as a strategic imperative?
One of the astonishing things we found is that cybersecurity, for all of the awesome work that we have done over the past 2-3+ decades, cybersecurity is still siloed, underfunded, and overlooked. We also found that across the board, when a new project is being spun up, cybersecurity is an afterthought. There's not a through-line budget item for cybersecurity in every project. That's one thing that could really help. And that comes for the CISO advocating for a proactive budget versus being reactive. Because what we see right now is a lot of cybersecurity organizations, they get budgets when there is an external type of event. We see that if there is some mega incident, they will get budget. If there is a breach, a competitor has a breach, maybe there's a supply chain issue they have to focus on, that's when they will get budget. It's reactive versus proactive and intentional.
Is your sense of non-technical CXOs, are they becoming more cyber fluent?
The answer should be yes. And everybody should be more cyber fluent. And we hear, cybersecurity is a board issue. Absolutely, cybersecurity is a board issue. Absolutely, cyber is something that everybody needs to be thinking about. It's in the headlines,
but that doesn't necessarily mean they're really diving into the nuts and bolts, right?
Correct,
okay.
Yeah. And as I said, that comes from the fact that a lot of CISOs do not necessarily report into the CEO. And you see that in a lot of sort of mid-sized types of companies, that the CISO may not report into the CEO. And in some cases, the CIO is tasked with handling security. So cybersecurity has to be something that your organization sees as something that you want to participate in, something that you want to do to be far more proactive and intentional versus reactive and transactional. You don't want to wait until you are the target of ransomware to say, oh, we need to spin up a SOC, we need to start looking at logs, and we need to do that 24/7.
It's just a little astonishing that in this day and age that we have to talk about should cybersecurity be considered something strategic for boards and CXOs.
Right. An astonishing thing we found, only 35% of the organizations we surveyed, so keep in mind this is 18 countries, only 35% have a formalized incident response plan. And so you look at all of these different attack types that are out there, and across the board, people told us that ransomware was the number attack they were concerned about, which is, understandable. Business email compromise was second, and we're seeing a lot more sort of doubling down on business email compromise. But across the board, they told us that they do not know how to remediate a DDoS attack. So while DDoS is an attack concern for them, they don't know how to remediate it.
Yeah. Yikes. All right, Theresa, in the brief time we have left, can you just walk us through some steps that organizations can take to make cyber resilience more of a whole organization issue?
Look at cyber resilience in your organization. We found 72% of governance organizations do not know what cyber resilience is. So identify those barriers. Be secure by design. Be secure from the beginning. Build security throughout all of your projects. Make sure that you're bringing in those trusted third-party advisors to help you on the way if you're doing something new. And CISOs, cybersecurity teams, advocate for a proactive budget to align with business initiatives and transform your cybersecurity function so that it is part of the entire organization.
Theresa, every time we talk, I walk away a little bit smarter. Thank you so much for joining us on the news desk.
Thanks so much, Terry. It was great being here.
We've been talking with Theresa Lanowitz of LevelBlue. This has been Terry Sweeney for the Dark Reading News Desk. Thanks for joining us.